Alright y'all, so today we're going to be replacing the oil dipstick tube O-ring that goes into the oil pan on a 2002 Ford F350 with the PowerStroke 7.3 liter in it. It has the updated front end, so don't let that confuse you. It is an O2 model. Alright. Quick tool inventory of the things that you're going to need to do this job. Can of brake cleaner. I live out in the woods, so some bug spray would always be good. Your genuine Ford part O-ring, a couple extensions, of course a channel locks, 3/8 drive ratchet, 13 millimeter deep well, 13 millimeter shallow, 9/16, 5/8 for your starter, stuff like that. 5/16 1/4 inch drive and a 10 millimeter 1/4 inch drive, one for the starter, one for the battery, of course in the ratchet, a pick, scraper, the magic tool, and then a little wire brush, and a little teeny tiny flathead screwdriver always comes in handy. So in preparation for this job, you're going to want to do a few things. First, you're going to want to remove your negative battery terminals from both batteries, and then your positive terminals from both batteries. You'll also need to remove the starter. And if you want to make it really easy on yourself, you can actually remove the passenger side inner fender liner as well. Now, I'm going to try to avoid doing that because I just got new ones and didn't think it through and put it on before I did this job. So I'm going to try to avoid taking it off. You're also going to want to remove the nut for the dipstick tube, which, if you can see, is right there. So you're going to need to remove, sorry about that, that nut right there to get the dipstick tube loose. The oil dipstick tube, you'll also find a wire harness connector. You'll just need to pop that loose and pull the wire harness back just a little bit. You also, if you want to be extra careful, can remove this plug right here from your air conditioning, because last thing you want to do is be pulling on your oil dipstick tube and break one of your connectors or stretch one of your wires and then have an AC problem. Okay guys, so now we're underneath the vehicle and we're trying to, or getting ready to, remove the starter from the vehicle. So a couple of things here. You always want to try and remove your electrical connectors before you take the starter out of the vehicle. Sorry, I'm having a little trouble with my light here. So to remove it, you've got a bolt here, and then there's one up over the top. Should be the same size as long as nobody's done a hack job on it. The main power one is the upper brass nut here, and then you'll find a smaller one, which is the remote to engage the solenoid, up over and to the left of that. Right over here you'll see it, and it attaches right there. So try to remove the wire connectors first, and then take the starter out to avoid any damage to your wires or stretching of your contacts. The starter is now removed. I just wanted to touch on a couple things. The upper bolt on the starter ended up being a 5/8 size, and the bottom bolt happened to be a 1/2 inch. I don't know if that is common on these, or if somebody just happened to put another bolt on it. So the starter's removed. Of course, the electrical wiring removed first, and you'll see that we have our oil pan O-ring that we're going to be replacing right here. So anyway, I will now remove the tube. And once I remove the tube, then I'm going to be securing the inner portion of this flange for the O-ring, and then I'll show you how I do that. And then once I have that secured, so it's not going to fall down into the oil pan and I'll have to lift the engine up or remove it, then I will remove this nut and replace the O-ring. Okay, so something that I would strongly recommend that everybody does before you even take the dipstick tube, you'll see that the dipstick tube is now off of it and moved out of the way, is to clean your oil pan. You know, if you've got one of these things that, you know, probably has been leaking for a while, and that's why you're doing it, or just started leaking worse recently. So go ahead and scrape off all of that oil residue throughout, especially above the actual inlet housing. Because, you know, you want to avoid contaminating your engine with any kind of, you know, like grease chunks, sand, dirt, anything else off of the road, because you're really risking, you know, bearing failure or something like that in your engine. So I'm a big advocate of keeping your job area clean. So anyway, just clean all that stuff off. You know, get yourself, once you've scraped it all off, a can of brake cleaner to kind of rinse everything down. And one other thing, you're going to want to replace the O-ring that is on your oil dipstick tube right there when you're doing this job as well. Something that I haven't heard anybody even mention yet on the videos that I have found. So anyway, that's all for now. So this is the magic tool that I'm going to be using. Actually got this idea from another YouTuber. I don't think that his setup was quite like mine, but anyway, what this is part of a gun cleaning kit. You can pick it up at Walmart or something like that, since it's going to be kind of sacrificial in this particular case. I'm not going to be able to use it on a gun afterwards. Anyway, it's a little copper cleaning brush, and then you screw this onto the end of it, which has a stud on top. Take yourself a couple nuts out of your spare bolt and nut kit in your garage, something that'll fit it. Make sure that you double nut it and get those very tight, and allow yourself just enough room for the string so you can tie a knot off on it. I'm a little paranoid about this, so I actually tied mine here and here, and then of course the string I'm going to tie off so I can't actually let go of it when it goes down into the oil pan. So this is the magic tool that we're going to use. It's going to save us from having to take the engine out in order to replace this O-ring. A little trick of the trade here. Of course, I've got my O-ring here. It's a genuine Ford part. You want to try and use the factory equipment parts on your vehicle as much as possible. You know, a lot of these aftermarket parts are very overrated. A lot of stuff is made in China, and it's just no good. It doesn't last. You end up having to replace it multiple times. Anyway, so I've got the O-ring here, and you can use Vaseline, a lot of like Ukraine, and products of that nature. Anything that has a base of petrolatum would work. But what this is going to do is it's going to allow the seal to stick in place. Because the last thing you want to do is get this thing, you know, in there and have it slip out of place as you're tightening it or something like that, and then there you are, and it's leaking worse than before, and then you go to try to take it off again, and you realize that the seal's split in half, and you got to go order a new part. But anyway, so just use a petrolatum-based product, coat it real good. You know, clumps are a good thing in this particular case, just because you know, the more it has to stick to, the better, since it's kind of in an awkward place. Right, so morning has turned into night. Ran into a couple of problems with it. Turns out that somebody has done this before, but when they did it, they actually cross-threaded the pressure nut there, and actually the thing was never really tight in there, and it actually bent the oil dipstick tube. So just about any kind of O-ring that I would try to put in there would just get cut or not seal at all. So basically what I've done is I've actually kind of tweaked the dipstick tube back to the way that it should have been originally, and then went ahead and tightened everything down. So the bolt on top is now tight on the dipstick tube. The B-nut here, or excuse me, the pressure nut is tight now, and I'm getting ready to put the starter back in it, and then hook everything back up electrically. So that's what I'll be doing next. All right.